Welcome to Make It Happen Monday, my weekly dose of healthy inspiration. Today, I want to talk about inflammation. I want to remind you that excess inflammation is a key driver of literally probably any chronic disease, ailment that you could name to me. Let me reel off the big ones: obesity, weight gain, metabolic syndrome, diabetes, heart disease, dementia, neurodegenerative conditions, mental health disorders, things like depression, PTSD, other mental health disorders, aging, autoimmune conditions. How do they damage the body? Through excess inflammation. The genesis of some cancers. The point is, excess inflammation at the cellular level, inflammation that extends both in time and in degree beyond where it's serving any useful purpose. And the only useful purpose it has is in helping us ward off infections and helping us heal. But the kind of inflammation I'm talking about is rampant inflammation, right? It's also what we now know is taking the lives of most people that are succumbing to COVID-19. It's excess inflammation from the cytokine storm. And the good news is we now know that your diet has a massive impact on the levels of inflammation in your body. And we know that. I'd put diet up against any drug anytime. And today I want to make sure you know the foods that have the most potent anti-inflammatory power, the food components that have the most potent anti-inflammatory power, and on the other side of the coin, the foods that have the most potent pro-inflammatory power and the food components that have the most pro-inflammatory effects. So where am I getting this information from? Thanks to an esteemed group of researchers. The dietary I can't make it happen Monday without getting one word wrong. These researchers created what's known as the Dietary Inflammatory Index, the DII. How did they do it? They looked at decades of studies that were conducted in one way or another to assess specific foods, specific food components, and their impact on inflammation within the body. There were almost 2,000 studies included in this. And so they took all these studies and they used their fancy computer algorithms and ultimately were able to assign a DII, Dietary Inflammatory Index score, to various foods and various food components. So, what are the most potent anti-inflammatory foods? Number one, turmeric. Number two, ginger. Number three, garlic. All right, how are they doing that? Very, very potent anti-inflammatory phytochemicals. We've talked about them before. Curcumin here, gingerols there, lots of different things in that garlic. What were the most potent anti-inflammatory beverages? Green or black tea. Here's some green tea. And the most potent of all forms of green tea is matcha. That's some organic matcha. I don't know if you can see the green inside there. Powder, which is just powdered green tea leaves. Okay, so those are the anti-inflammatory foods and beverages. What about the most anti-inflammatory components in food? This one may surprise people. It doesn't surprise me. The top most powerful anti-inflammatory component within foods is, it begins with an F, drum roll please, fiber. Yeah, and people thought that fiber didn't have any purpose and it just like comes out the other end and helps us have regularity. Wrong. So many things. And you say, wow, how is fiber conveying its anti-inflammatory effects? Through lots of different ways, most all of them through the microbiome. Remember the valuable, good, beneficial gut bugs. Take that fiber. It allows them to grow and to divide and do their job really well. And we now know that the microbiome is the master regulator of your immune function. It's immune cells that are conducting the inflammation and quieting it, right? Right? And the other thing is that these beneficial gut bugs take the fiber and turn it into short-chain fatty acids, SCAFAs, which have very robust, very exciting, direct anti-inflammatory effects in the body. What is the second most powerful anti-inflammatory component in food? Flavones. What are flavones? Flavones are a family of phytochemicals, and that family is a member of the larger family of phytochemicals known as flavonoids. So flavones are a subcategory of flavonoids. What are the foods that provide the most flavones? It would be good to know this. They are, and they're easy to remember, celery, apples, parsley, bell peppers, and oranges. So those are very special foods based on the dietary inflammatory index. The other thing I meant to mention when I talked about fiber is being the top most potent anti-inflammatory component within foods is what are the foods that have the most fiber? The top spot for foods with the highest fiber are going to be beans, peas, like split peas, but any kind of peas, chickpeas, any kind of peas, green peas, and then lentils, right? So those are the, sort of championship kind of megastar foods for fighting inflammation. Now, according to the DII, what were the most pro-inflammatory foods? The top of the list. Processed red meat. Yes, the bacon, the sausage, the bologna, the pastrami, the ham. And now we have another reason to stay away from those foods besides their cause and effect with cancer, particularly colorectal cancer. They are the most pro-inflammatory of all foods. So again, if you're someone worried about any of those conditions I mentioned earlier, heart disease, dementia, you have an autoimmune condition, you have arthritis, you feel like you're getting old and you don't want to be getting old, mental health disorders, you have a history of depression, you have a history of anxiety, you have a history of PTSD, you name it, anything. You don't want to be doing processed red meat because it drives what is driving those conditions. And second to processed red meat would be plain red meat. And then next, the next group would be sugar and refined carbs. It's the great white hazards, white flour products, white rice, right? White bread. What are the most pro-inflammatory components in foods? The top spot is saturated fats. The top spot is saturated fats. Trans fats were up there with saturated fats, but trans fats have now been banned, so we don't have to talk about those. Anyway, so pretty straightforward and fits in beautifully with all the things I'm always advocating. Eat more whole, real foods, do your fats right, which means limit those saturated fats, and do more fiber, do more, phytochemicals. So I'm trying to think if there's anything. Oh, yes, I do want to share one more thing because it also relates to inflammation. I have an upcoming mini e-course, How to Sleep Better Forever. And we do know that that's another thing that has a dramatic impact on levels of inflammation in your body is the quality of your sleep. If you're not getting good sleep, if you're not getting enough sleep, we see immediately the next day inflammation levels go up in your body. You probably felt this. Lack of sleep makes you hurt. If you've got pre-existing like pain issues, they all go up after poor sleep. Your mood drops. That's because your brain's inflamed. And brain inflammation is a source of mental health disorders. Anyway, that course is launching July 17th. No. Say that again, Anne. The course is launching July 13th. It's on a Monday. If you open my newsletter next Monday, then you're going to see it in there, how you can click and link and get in that course. It is a mini course, which means you can view it in about an hour. There's a great detailed handout that goes with that information. And I think it can radically improve the quality of your life if you're one of the 70% of Americans that doesn't get optimal sleep. So join us for that.